Melinda Barnes Caldwell, and I would like to welcome you to the Fifth District's Community Forum. This evening, we will be discussing our 5x5x5 cleanup. Present, we have our department heads, and they will share with you all this valuable information they have for us. And we will discuss the cleanup, the dates, and also, because this is the 5x5x5 cleanup, we have a structure in the Fifth District that we are in need of demolishing. However, it has sentimental value. So, we have residents from the Fifth District. We'll probably get feedback from them. And at this time, real quickly, I'll give Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Yes,
Brown.
ma'am.
That's okay, Brown.
Brown,
Thank you.
okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for the invitation. Patricia Brown, representing the Gary Historic Preservation Commission and the Gary Historic and Cultural Society, including the Gary Civic Symphony Orchestra, also Arts, Culture, and History Committee. Everything in my life right now is dealing with history. So we find out that what we're gonna do, we really have to start from the past in order to bring it to the present. We have to educate our community. And in educating our community, we ourselves are being educated. The history of Gary, Indiana. Gary's 5th District have many historic houses. It has many historic people. Gary has Roosevelt, and the individuals that came out of there are powerful and dynamic. There was a book put out by one of the coaches, John Smith, and the book wasn't really, it was copyrighted, but it wasn't really distributed into the community. So there is a book available. Hopefully at one point the alumni will take the book and finish and have it republished or republished in order to get into the community, so that the people in this community in Gary, Indiana can be aware of some of the wonderful, powerful history we have here in Gary dealing with individuals. As a matter of fact, St. John's Hospital, right there on 22nd in Massachusetts, people call it many things. They call it St. John's. They call it Hedrick's Hospital, because one of the first physicians, well, one of the physicians that worked there, not the first physician, one of the physicians that worked there was Dr. Hedrick's. Also doing, not only is Dr. Hedrick's work there, the hospital was put there because of Gary's history. Gary, back in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, all the way up until the 50s, did not allow blacks to come into their major hospitals, which was Gary Methodist and St. Mary's Medical Center. Blacks were not permitted in these hospitals to their knowledge. You know, so we come in all shades of color. So there were blacks there, but they were white enough to pass for white. That's the United States history. And what we're looking at in St. John's Hospital, yeah, it's listed on the National Archive interim report as a decaying structure, because it has been falling in since it was put up, not since it was put up, since it was closed in 1950. So the building is it's really decaying. But our point is, we'd like to see someone come in and rescue that decay, not so much as to not tear it down, but to leave us something designating St. John's Hospital as Gary's I want to say African American history. I want to say American history. That one structure, we've had several, there's several cities around us in different states that are feeding us all kind of information dealing with preservation, and we thank them for it because they know Gary is in the same spot a lot of other cities and towns are in. They see the decaying in their cities, but then they're not looking to really think about what they're doing. And that's what we have in our Etna community here in Gary. Etna's looking for artifacts, and they asked me, they said, Ms. Brown, do we have any? I said, to my knowledge, you've only got two, and you're aware of them. You have a depot, a train depot, and you have a historic home, which is Wildermuth Mansion. And those are the only two structures they have. I said, but there is hope, because Edna wants to put on festivals and whatnot this summer, and they want to base it up on their history. So we also have the Etna Power Plant. And that plant came about in the 1800s, and because of that plant and us trying to hold on to the history, a landmark hopefully will be erected dealing with that plant and giving them something to base their festivals on. Also, if you look on the internet, you will see that that plant had such item called gunpowder. I don't know any of you are familiar with gunpowder. If my husband was sitting here, he would put his hand up because he knows military. And gunpowder, back in the World War II, Etna Power Plant was utilized to help win that war. That little area of Etna, Indiana, at that time it wasn't Gary, yes it was, excuse me, during the war it was. But it was utilized in order to help us fight the World War. They produced the gun cotton. Long story short, we have a lot of information we'll be feeding the councilwoman in order to help feed the community as to the history you have here in the community of the 5th District. Thank you so much. And one of the artifacts, I brought it with me, and we're looking at Memorial Auditorium, and they're trying to, I'm going to give a tour, they're trying to take it down, but we're asking them, at one time we thought we're going to have to come under eminent domain, that's being halt, wait a minute, let us have a say before the council. We didn't know it was coming across, but it did come across the council and was presented. So all we can do is get on board and stay on board as far as trying to help educate our general public. Thank you so much.
All right. We have present Mayor Karen Freeman Wilson. So at this time, Mayor, would you like to add on to the conversation about St. John's Hospital?
Why, certainly, Councilwoman. Good evening. Thank you, Councilwoman Linda Barnes Caldwell, and to all of the members of Team Gary, and to all of the members of the public. I'm glad that everybody came out today. I asked Councilwoman Barnes Caldwell if we could talk about this issue at this meeting, because I know that we have the funds for demolition, but I also know that it is a very sensitive topic. On the one hand, you have not only just a decaying building, but a crumbling building that is a hazard to the public. And on the other hand, you have a very important part of our community's history. And before making a unilateral decision, we reached out to the councilwoman, we reached out, and it was our intent to reach out to the Gary Historic Commission to at least talk about what a solution might be. And I can tell you that the solution can't simply be, don't tear it down because it's historic. That's not a solution, that's an observation. But at the end of the day, it's still a very hazardous building to the community. And for those who live near there, it has a negative impact on their property value. So is there a way that we can preserve some portion of that building for the historical value, while at the same time dealing with the needed preservation of the site in a way that it is safe. The last thing that I would say about that is that there has to be some type of long-term plan for historic preservation in the community, and we're certainly playing catch-up. There are buildings, had they been preserved 20, 30 years ago, that could be historic structures in this community. The question is, what do you do going forward? Because we have a number of structures, the Gary Power and Light building, any number of buildings that are still vacant and that are in danger. I mean, we're working on the preservation of the City United Methodist Church. So how do we achieve those goals and ultimately preserve our history and preserve the safety of the community? So I just wanted to put that out there. There are no easy answers, but I did want to at least have the conversation.
Anyone from the audience? Mr. Kirkland, would you like to share?
Well, my assessment of the property is, it's pretty much what the mayor just mentioned, that the building is crumbling and it has collapsed from the roof all the way to the basement. The north side of the building is actually, the staircase is actually leaning on the adjacent homeowner's home. So it is a very dangerous site to those homeowners that live next door. The property had been bidded out maybe about 7 months ago. I think the bid came in at about $25,000. We were preparing to actually demolish the property, but it was mentioned that we need to have further conversation about it before we move forward with demolition.
I did have a question. Is it still on the historic register?
No,
Okay.
it has been removed.
I didn't think it was. Okay.
Even though it's not on the state or national historic record, we are a local entity, and that's why we're sitting here. And we are looking at not only that building, but there's quite a few structures here in the Fifth District that we've got to just get on board. Another one is 2319 Adams Street. It is the home of the builder that built St. John's Hospital. His name is William Wilson Cook, a black man that came into our city, as I said, back in 1921. And he got busy and boom, he made Gary's history. Powerful individual.
I don't think that property is on the list for immediate demolition.
No, it is not, but it also is in,
It's just south of the building that was demolished at 2301, correct?
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's up for immediate demolition.
right, it is not.
Yes.
You know, we see the redevelopment, week after week, we keep pouring money into that City Methodist Church. You know, I was wondering, if there was a choice between City Methodist or the auditorium, what would the people of Gary want, I really don't know too much about the City Methodist Church, but they're talking about shoring it up, If you get a couple engineers involved, they could shore up Memorial Auditorium with no problem. It's a sound structure, so it shouldn't be any problem, What they could do it if they wanted to, so it's available.
Madam Councilwoman, the money for, or a significant portion, or a portion of the money for the City United Methodist Church came through a grant from the Knight Foundation, and it was earmarked for that purpose because they agreed that there was a value in preserving that structure, especially given the plan for preservation. To Mr. Furnell's point, if there is a plan for the preservation of either Memorial Auditorium or the St. John Hospital, that's different than saying don't, just maintain the status quo.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the council just passed last week to think build a loft or something?
Yes, it's housing, it's new housing.
Yes. So,
It's redevelopment.
So some of the work that we've done over time, it resolved it started out as an idea, as you're talking now, but then there were people who invested time and identified resources so that we could develop plans for those sites. And in addition to doing plans, there were like feasibility studies done to see what could be saved and what could not be saved. So I think that's, I would make that as a recommendation for preserving historical sites. You need to do, there's a lot of work that has to go into planning for those sites. So maybe talking with certain departments or the state preservation representative to create a method in which you can begin to support these locations or have some kind of plan for these locations that we should preserve.
Right. Our main thing is for you to look at us. We are a sitting commission.
We do.
And because we are sitting commission, and the 8 people that sit on that commission are residents of Gary, Indiana, and all of us are living in a different district. So we're pretty well familiar with our district. Wait until you get Glen Park. Ooh, there's another, coming forth.
Right.
Not only the first district dealing with Etna, but also the first district dealing with whatever, the councilwoman is bringing forth with her different sites and whatnot, and definitely the 5th district, because that's the history of the blacks, in Gary, Indiana. That's the beginning, and we're not finished because, it's our city now. Isn't that a blessing?
It is, and
Yes,
I
it
live
is.
here too.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is, it has to be more than just bringing forth
Yes.
issues.
Yes.
But there has to be some really thought or resources identified to sustaining those places.
Yes.
It's not like the city has this wonderful golden pot of money that is sitting there for us to do that. We just have to be very strategic in terms of that work, but we are willing to work with you in
So thank
terms
you so
of
much.
seeing what we can do
Yeah.
to preserve some of the locations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I'm sure I will get telephone calls from the citizens of the 5th district letting me know how they feel about this project, if we should demolish it or if we should try to maintain it. So, at this time, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Team Gary, and we'll start with Ms. LaShawn Brooks on the end.
Good evening, everyone. I'm LaShawn Brooks, the Director of the Mayor's Office of Constituent Services, where our 5x5x5 initiates through my department, just as well as the hub for 311 concerns and requests for services is hubbed in my department just as well. And any community service cleanup projects that the community may be interested in, and block clubs that are interested in having cleanups and beautification projects, they begin with in my department, as well as with the AmeriCorps Vistas that work with me as well. So we are excited to announce that our 5x5x5 will be in the 5th district with a kickoff on May 30th. And we are focusing on areas from 21st to 25th Avenues, and with a concentration from Massachusetts to Virginia Street. But we want citizens to know that when we 5x5x5 is just 5 blocks, 5 weeks. So we don't want you to think that we're not going any further in the districts. General Services is on the side of me, and I'm sure she will share some more intel on what they are doing with cleaning up other areas. But if I could say anything, I want to express the importance of utilizing our 311 system when you have concerns that or request of services in your area. It's very important that you utilize that to hold us accountable just as well as for us to track and keep up with that information in the systems. You heard us talk about a grant not too long ago, the Knight Foundation, and a lot of that information that we get, it comes from our 311 system, so you can help us by helping us keep track of where the need is in the communities and how we can better service you. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Rachel Caesar, Deputy Director of Public Works. And our role in the 5x5x5 initiative specifically is to support LaShawn, her efforts, her volunteer efforts. I'd like to point out that our approach, and I'm speaking on behalf of General Services Division, a department within the Public Works arena, but that our approach to the 5x5x5 is largely data-driven, sort of reinforcing what LaShawn just said about 311. So I would underscore the importance of getting your issues and your concerns inside of the city. So we use that so that we can know where the heaviest concentrations are, and as I would surmise that LaShawn does the same thing. In addition to that, because it is a volunteer, community-based initiative as well, we look for areas that do have very strong and active block clubs and community organizations. Another criteria is high profile areas, high traffic areas. We try to maintain those across the city as well. So in addition to the 5x5, we will be layering that with the Public Works or City of Gary initiative of Love My Block. And these programs, these initiatives rather, are designed to work cohesively in that we can focus on the volunteer aspects of it as well as the areas that have been identified within the zone. So what we have been working to do since the launch of our zone cleanup is to get to a place where we're working in the same area simultaneously, and that sort of prevents us from addressing things all over the city so that we can kind of realize the greatest impact. So we will be in that area. This will be our first undertaking where we're actually going to start and finish, and we hope to get some really good results as a result of that. We work with code enforcement and other divisions that work with us to deal with issues. CHIPS team, led by the police department, they go out and they deal with code violations, they deal with vehicle violations, and they typically do this in advance. So by the time our cleanup team gets there, we can actually activate those things and get those vehicles out of there. Code enforcement with regard to businesses and even some residential structures that have violations. So folks will get an opportunity to get those things straightened up as well. So that's kind of a broad overview of how we fit into the 5x5 structure, and be happy to answer any questions that you have. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Deputy Chief Brian Evans here at the Police Department, and as just stated, our role in it is basically to support general services and code enforcement. Generally, before they go out, we canvass the area and try to deal with the issues that will arise, maybe from illegally parked cars or other issues that can be dealt with through law enforcement that may not necessarily fall into the wheelhouse of code enforcement or general services. I can say that research has showed through Pew Research, through the research that the FBI did with community policing, that communities that take care of blight have a lower incident of crime. Not that crime is created by blight, but when people or anybody thinks that you don't care about your community, they tend to do more things there. And we can see that by the amount of people that we get coming into the city dumping because they don't want to pay the fees of where they are, or that, like the individual we caught spray painting all of these buildings. We think he did over 47 buildings. We actually caught him in act with the help of the community. And that's one of the things that I want to push for, that all of these efforts are community driven, that we have to have the participation of the citizens of everyone to make things happen. Law enforcement can't happen without your help. And the reason we were able to catch that individual tagging all these buildings, the reason we were able to catch sometimes people is dumping, is not any whiz data program we have or even a camera. It's somebody actually making a phone call, giving us good information, and basically staying with it while it takes us time to arrive and giving us the information that we need to either we make contact with the person and we can take it from there. And so I just want to say how important all of you are to our efforts with community and with crime and with all of the efforts in the city.
Hi, I'm Kenya Mackler from Code Enforcement, and Code Enforcement's piece is we go out and educate the citizens and businesses before we actually send the inspectors back out to site, or we also tag the vehicles before the cleanup begins as well. So that's our piece of it.
Good evening. My name is Cedric Kirkendall. I'm the demolition coordinator. My department is charged with demolition of vacant and abandoned homes. We also provide the service of citizens that want to actually pay for the cost of demolition of their property, houses and or garages. We also board up properties, first floor and basement levels only. If the windows are open or broken out, doors open or missing, we go out and board those up. If the house is secured, just because it's vacant, we do not supply the material to actually board up a vacant house that's already secured just because it's vacant. It's very limited funds, so we have to use those funds for properties where people are being seen squatting, people calling in complaining, saying that kids are hanging out during school hours, so we take a precedence with those properties and make sure that we get those boarded. But if a person wants to have their property boarded themselves, we do actually do that as well. I want to enlighten you on some numbers over the past 8 years and bring you up to date with the demolition numbers. Since 2011, we've demolished 1,282 homes. In 2019, so far, we've demolished 56. Of those 56 homes demolished, 9 are in the 5th district. In regard to the 5x5 area, we have 9 properties that are going to be demolished: 2577 Connecticut, 2601 Maryland, 2266 Massachusetts, 2532 Massachusetts, 2423 Washington, 2310 Industrial Boulevard, and 2201-45 Industrial Boulevard. That demolition will begin next Tuesday. Those properties have already been bidded and awarded. We just recently demolished the property at 2301 Adams Street with the help of some funds that we received from the county. It took them about a week to get it down. They should probably be finished by Wednesday. That was a huge eyesore in the community, but that issue has been resolved. As far as our hardest hit dollars that we have received through the Treasury, in 2014 through 2017, we demolished 379 homes using those funds. 96 of those properties were in the 5th district. 2018 to the present, we've actually bidded out 163 properties. 69 have been demolished. 1 has been demolished in the 5th district. There are 20 that are slated for demolition, but out of those, 25 have been scheduled. Those properties will come down within the next 60 days. Also, Colonial Gardens, across the street from Ivy Tech, those are 45 properties that have been bidded out. Those will come down this summer as well. So we are actively doing demolition in the 5th district and will continue.
Good evening, I'm Nate George, Superintendent of the Gary Parks Department. In addition to the daily or day-to-day maintenance of the parks, when we work in the 5x5s, we also assist with the garbage and debris removal. In addition, we try to address any kind of impediments to the parks. So if we have an overgrowth in a sidewalk, or if we have a vacant lot that may be within the vicinity of a park, we found out that it affects the appearance of the park and may lead to its inactivity. So in those situations, we try to help eliminate the blight or the overgrowth in those areas in order to make sure that the parks are able to remain active.
Hi, my name is Jackie Rosario Purtle, interim building commissioner for the city of Gary. Our building inspectors help with 5x5 with making sure that all permanent work that's going on in the area, the contractors are working within their scope. And we also get calls from our 311 to make sure that anybody calling in regards to people working without a permit, we go out and check those residents as well.
Okay. Any questions?
I wanted to add this piece that we started with the 5x5 as well, with rental, registration. And, any persons in areas, because a lot of times we find that a lot of the blighted properties are from landlord, they are, rental properties. So we do provide notices during the time that we come out just as well, just to find out if it's a rental property, and providing the steps to take place of registering and sharing those codes that Ms. Macklin shared that we will be looking for and citing, and giving enough time for everybody to come in compliance with those codes.
I noticed in the past, redevelopment has been, focusing upon the Universal Park area. I think it's a pretty good job they're doing, but, we got quite a few properties in the 5th District, 2400 block of Buchanan. They have one house that's on the demolition list now, 2400, but there's 2 other houses right next door to it. I think the focus would be much better if they would knock all of the houses down in the block. When you only knock one house down in the block still looks the same. It would be better to knock everything in the block. And as far as getting that title search, we got quite a few people that asked that they could do the title search too. We just talked to Fidelity Title, they asked about doing a few free properties for the city of Gary. They do the properties in Hammond and East Chicago with a company called Chicago Title, but they were talking about coming in Gary and doing, complimentary title search. So it's pretty wise to, talk to them and see what's going on.
Well, we've used Chicago Title before. They are much higher than when we were using Indiana Title. Indiana Title is $250 per search. We're using another title company now. It's $95 a search.
Who is that?
I don't think you're gonna get any lower than that.
Any lower than that?
Not lower than $95. And it's a complete title search too. So anybody that has or has had a vested interest in that property, they'll be notified.
Okay, because it looks much better if you knock the whole block.
Let me elaborate on that. I understand that, over 6,000 vacant buildings in the city, and there may be 20 on a block that's vacant. Right now, with the hardest hit funds from Treasury, they have to be city-owned properties. They have to be a program partner's property or the redevelopment commission's property. So we have to go through an acquisition process, which takes about 7 to 9 months. So that's a lengthy period of time for us to acquire those properties. We can't spend their funds unless it's in a program partner's name or redevelopment's name. If we do the demolition, they won't pay for it, so we have to suck up that charge. As far as the properties on Buchanan, I think you're talking about 2464 Buchanan.
Yeah.
It's getting ready to be demolished.
And it's one that's been
The house
20
next door,
years.
the house next door to it,
Yeah.
it's not a city-owned building, so we'd have to get a title search. I know the person that used to live there is deceased,
Yeah.
but we still have to go through that formality. We have to.
Okay, how about the burnout?
And to further elaborate, that's our main focus right now. We're tearing down, if we're eliminating blight, we're targeting all of the city-owned buildings. So if we're asking you to maintain your property, we want our stuff to be maintained or gone. So we're demolishing city-owned properties and all of these burnout properties. That's the main focus right now. But with very limited funds, it's hard to get to all of these buildings. So our in-house demolition department is out tearing down buildings. Well, the month of May, they're tearing down buildings for citizens that are paying for the cost of demolition. That's where they are. So that brings back money into our unsafe building fund, but helps keeps the demolition program going. Where we can go out and tear down the property, emergency basis where it may be collapsing. Where we can get our equipment repaired and have money for that. But we are targeting all of these vacant buildings, burnout buildings right now. That's our main focus.
Okay, you can't tell the people that, simply because everybody's gonna start burning up their property. Yeah, well,
Well, I'm speaking on what's existing.
Yeah.
We're trying to tear down the buildings that are burned out all over the city. It's a new burnout almost every day.
Wow.
Mr. Perkins?
You said y'all was title searching all these houses to find out if they are the titles and checking titles. Okay, some of these houses you're sitting here, these people are buying them on the commissioner sale, or they switching over $300, $100, they switching it, then they switch this thing to this thing. I got 7 on my block like this, and there's nothing been done about that. I'm trying to figure that one out, what goes on.
What block are you on?
36 in Georgia. 36.
Yeah, that's
And
bad.
I wanna understand something about this cars being tagged. I got cars in my alley that was supposed to be tagged and not tagged. Matter of fact, they got somebody who just shot them, people who just killed, tried to shoot that girl, the lady in Tucson. There's a truck sitting in the alley right now. That truck, we're gonna do, wait till she stay in jail, and the son stay in jail.
The properties on 36 in Georgia, you don't have any they're not burnouts, are they?
Nah.
Yeah, we'd have to do title
The
search.
doors are open, it'll take about a minute for somebody to burn.
Well, what I'll do is, I'll make note
I
that
know
30,
they switch Jay's name, they keep switching titles, they keep the titles. They
go-
sell it to this person get it, they throw stuff outside, they don't fix it, junk outside. I have came in myself and cleaned up this alley once, and I'm tired of cleaning it up. I wanna get rid of my own house if I can from all this mess out there. And I got a house that ain't doing no junk. I got this one house, it's gonna tear my big garage down. And I got expensive vehicles in that garage.
I'll get your information after the meeting, but I know we've been on 36 in Georgia and have boarded up properties several times on 36 in Georgia. Actually, if we do title searches, bring the buildings to an unsafe building hearing, and it's not demolished in 2 years, we have to start that process over again. That the order is no good. And with the limited amount of funds, we run into that. So we haven't lately been doing as many title searches because sometimes it may be a waste, but we're 2 or 3 years behind demolishing properties that were ordered demolished. Because right now, properties that I'm scheduling, I know that they were ordered almost 2 years ago or a year ago, and I'm trying to get those buildings down too, so it won't be like we're wasting funds. So we are demolishing properties that have been ordered demolished, but it just takes us a little bit longer because we're still handling the issue of burnout buildings. It happens so often that there may be a house that has collapsed. I'll have to stop our in-house demolition department from actually working on the property to go and rescue whomever is living next door because this house is threatening to fall on their house and is occupied. So I have to stop doing what I'm doing and go in and help those people out. So it's just a lot going on, but we're trying to handle it as best as possible. But I'll get your information after the meeting and I'll talk with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't know if, you all discussed this before I got here, the Friendship House on 21st.
We got it.
What's the plan with that?
As far as now the plan for demo,
Or even boarding it up?
I didn't even begin to think about a demolition plan for the Friendship House. I know that's a
Yeah.
$300,000 job easy. And it's full of asbestos. I've been in the basement. That's probably $25,000, $30,000 worth of work alone, just removing the asbestos that's in the basement. It's full of boilers and everything. It's a mess downstairs. But the person in our department that was, that's for board up, he was off the last 3 days, last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He came back today. Tomorrow, he should be out trying to secure the building and board that up. That's been scheduled. So he'll be out tomorrow to take his measurements and get started on the board up of that property. He'll be out there tomorrow.
What's the location of that Friendship?
21st and Washington.
And is that the one that is the Campbell Friendship? Is that what
Yes.
she's referring to?
Yes.
That's another structure that was built by William Wilson Cook. That, yeah, we're going back to the.
I wasn't asking that it be demolished, I just wanted some type of board up or something like that, because it has been boarded up before, but people have gone back in it and.
He'll be out there tomorrow.
Yes.
And I'd like to just compliment, what you're doing. You're trying to do what the people are asking you to do. But I'd also like to say, we have a house that's sat vacant for maybe 10, 15 years, not in the 5th district, and it was burnt twice. But because of where it sat and the neighbors caring about it and trying their best to make sure we get a buyer, we finally got a buyer, and he's gonna do the work that needs to, it's something, these structures, a lot of people are still interested in buying these houses that have sitting there like eyesores, because the area is very reasonable when it comes to people that are moving in the area from other area. It's amazing.
Ms. Dollar.
Could you please tell me the procedure for tires? I've gone around the neighborhood and stacked tires and, what do you do?
Okay, so when you stack the tires, we ask that that's placed in 311 as well.
Okay.
And, general services, which I'm sure Rachel wanna jump in it, or, our recycling department come pick them up. If you see a dumpster, please do not put them in a dumpster.
Right.
We will come around and collect those. And I know we were trying to, with recycling, during recycling pickup time, to try to work it around there as they see them on the curbside. And I'll add to that, we were doing a campaign the same with if you collect some debris. And we were doing a challenge. We are doing a challenge. We're asking residents just take one 30-gallon bag and just fill it up with debris and share that, that you helping out. Because nowadays social media is the way and everybody loves to be seen. And we're gonna help show you just as well, but sitting that on the curb and informing us of that, and general services will come out and pick that up as well.
And what we've been able to do, ma'am, now that, because we have gotten some more equipment, is that we have a team that just kind of canvasses. Tires are a real issue in this community. And clearly there are some issues with the sale and the proper disposal of them. But we have been able to, if you'll just give us a call or put it in 311, that's one of the easy ones, is to pick them up. But there are issues, and I'm sure it all stems from the businesses just not having a proper disposal protocol. And I think that is actually required or mandated by state law. But those are just some issues that we're working through. But our tire pickup is actually fairly quickly. So if you'll get that in, or you can just give that location to me and I'll make sure they get picked up.
This was a question for Councilwoman Barnes. Yeah. In some communities, I was reading that they are partnering with somebody about Ring, because what the police officer mentioned about us reporting things. And I think it was Hammond, that they have some kind of partnership that they're setting up so people can reasonably afford surveillance in their neighborhood. Do you know anything about that?
I don't.
Well, I don't know what type of partnership that was. It may be a grant, but I do know that Ring, Vimo, and all the ones, camera systems that have doorbell ringers, they really do help us solve crimes. I can point to 6 incidents this year where we've really been able to sort out what really happened, because, the suspect says this thing, the witness says this thing, and the truth is always in the middle. And what happens with these two corporations is they provide for the owners of the doorbell system to place their video footage on application or an app, website. And what it does, it takes you out of the process of having to report it. You know what I'm saying? Your doorbell ringer can be accessed on this site. So if there's a crime on your street, it's not like somebody can say, well, you gave the video to the police. No, 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 no. Our video always goes to this site and everybody on my block. And it's really picking up in the city, even without what you're saying. I was at a house this weekend, last week, talking to a young lady about an incident that happened to her son. And on that block, out of the 9 houses there, 6 of them had Ring doorbell ringers. And since they installed those, it really cut down on a lot of the walkers on the street. It cut down on a lot of the perceived break-ins, because I guess people that do those type of activities notice those first. And the fact that we've advertised quite publicly, the Gary Police Department, when we get information from the doorbell ringers, a homicide in Miller, that was from a Ring doorbell, and a lot of other situations where we have captured and even charged people with those type of crimes and others because of those images. So I don't know what kind of program Hammond has, but they both provide a free website that you can place those images on, or they can just automatically go there without charging the homeowner, and it really helps. It tremendously helps. Cameras are the wave of the future for law enforcement.
Now, I'm sorry,
No, so thank you.
is the Gary Police Department still are they on the Ring doorbell system? Because I know Hammond and Hobart are.
Well, you don't have to be on the system, anyone can access it.
Okay.
So it's just a web-based site, we can just go on and look at it if you participate in that. If not, what we do after crime, we do ask the person, individual Ring doorbell ringers, if they would just join the site. We don't ask for your footage, if you just join the site, we can access it, and that way you're completely out of the process.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And it's free, it's not an extra charge. The good thing about it, it's not an extra charge to you for doing that, it's something that the companies provide.
The public should be educated on the.
When you buy it, they let you know. I mean, they do sell that. I mean, it's something that's advertised. We can't advertise that for them because we can't seem to be
Right, but I
advertising
mean,
for a company, yeah.
not the police, I
Yeah.
mean, but one of our problems in Gary is communication.
Right.
You know, and getting, so you have people, the people in my block don't know anything about that, you know, and so.
I agree. I've said it every community meeting, and I hope everybody gets one.
Okay, we're having this 5x5 cleanup, May 30th. How are we going to communicate with the people in the 5th district, letting them know that we're having a cleanup? Everybody's gonna tell me they didn't know that they were having a cleanup, you know?
So I would like to jump on that first. This is the first way we telling them by video right now. The second way we do it is from those that attend meetings and those that have been in prior events or community meetings, block club members. We send out emails, we put it on all social media outlets. We walk about the community prior to, especially that immediate area that we are gonna be in, and we place notices on, all those properties, and ask to come out to assist us. We also go to the businesses that are nearby, ask them to assist us. We go to the churches, and it's a part of church programs where they are announcing it. We go into our school system and ask for the youth just as well to come out. We do understand with some that because we moved 2 years ago from a Saturday back to a work week due to the overtime of city employees and services, that what we have began to do is to request that the block clubs, then we start off on a Thursday. If you cannot come out during that time, then for them to catch up with us by hosting something on that Saturday. We do have a cleanup that will be taking place the following Saturday, or Saturday after, 2 weeks after our kickoff, that will be held in that area just as well. So we try to keep engaging the community to host something on those weekends because it worked mostly for, most citizens because of their work schedule. We also work with our court system, and they come out, for those that truancy, whatever, they, assist us as well. So, yes, we strongly encourage, even if you are not, able to do the labor, just the word of mouth, getting it out, sometimes just the system, because we have water, we need equipment back, anyone that's able to assist us with that, serving food, to those, because we do provide that just as well, because it is a long day. Sometimes it's a long wet day, long cold wet day. We've had those, but if the community could just encourage us too while we are out there cleaning up, we truly appreciate that, because it is a lot of work. I can say it because I do it myself. So it is a lot of tiresome work to be doing in the community. So if there are other ways that we are missing, please let us know. We will do it. We take it to the grocery store just as well. Anything that is surrounding that area that we feel that the community engage with, we try to share that.
Okay. And Mr. Parnell, my office sent out letters to all the precinct committeemen and all the residents who attend the meetings. They still get it, and also a robocall about this meeting today. So we don't see those people, so I don't know what other way it is that we can contact them. I'd also like to acknowledge Councilman Mike Brown, Councilman at large, resident of the 5th District. So, yeah, we try to reach out.
How about churches?
Yes.
Yeah. The churches in the 5th District, they get a letter every month also, just like you do. Yes, ma'am. I don't know any other way. I'm trying so hard. Mr. George, I had a request today about that grass around Gilroy. The people running, they said they need to cut. Gleason, Gilroy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That was mine. And also, let me say this, there was an area, someone just deliberately dumped some trash, and it was in a high-profile area, and the trash sat there. I need the residents to know, please do the 311. Don't just say, oh, somebody's gonna get it. They won't. We have to call in and report what we see. Someone dumped something, can they put it on the list on the 311? If you do the 311, if I do it, you do it, they'll get that many more calls. They may react to it quicker than they normally would. I just went on and got one of the guys in the neighborhood to get it up because it looks so bad. But yeah, that 311 is. Yes, Mr. Tucker.
311 works for the grass,
It
cutting the
works for
grass.
everything. Ms. Brooks, tell them again.
Okay, yes, so let me explain,
The 311 on me for a lawnmower, I done burned up the lawnmower, cutting all that grass.
that's not just for good stewardship,
I done done so
citizenship.
much.
We appreciate people like you. But, the 311, what we ask is, give us within 24 hours, the way the system works is that you should hear something from us. And when we say hear something from us, normally we asking for an email, a home number, a cell number. Sometimes all three, you may get a notice and it will say that we in receipt of it and we're gonna assess, the request or the concerns that you are sharing. Our team know that they have 30 days to bring resolution, but does resolution mean that that whole block will be cut? Not necessarily. It depends on the services of that department, but within 30 days, we should have shared with you some type of plan. We can use demolition as an example. We all know that you put in and you want a house knocked down just after hearing how to title search and everything in 30 days, that's not gonna be knocked down. But he has a communication, we're letting you know the status, that it is placed on the list, and based off of, what needs to be taking place, he informs you of that, and then let you know about a time frame for that. Then, that ticket can be closed, because that's what we consider ourselves educating you on what each department does and what the process is. So code enforcement, someone's dumping and you want this property owner to be cited for that. Code enforcement go out, assess that. Sometimes it's a warning that they are given, but they should inform you of that warning, just as well as when it is a court date, they will provide you with that court date just as well. At that time, they do close out that ticket, because that's as much as what code enforcement can do. They can let you know when the court, and what we're asking when they give you the court date, we need you all to come to court to support that citation. A lot of times I've sat in court, nobody is out there to support that ticket. If you can't come to court, a lot of times I've shared with citizens, do a block, like a petition in the neighborhood of where residents have signed off, and provide that to code enforcement prior to the court date, and they can use that as other supportive documents for the reason of we need to cite this person and put a fine on them. So not necessarily in 30 days that we will knock a house down or mow a whole field, but we will give you some information in regards to where we are and how we will complete the task that you are requesting. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. 311 is gonna get tired of me, I know.
No.
But back before the winter, I made a complaint from 311 about my neighbor sitting out stuff to be thrown away and keeping his yard in some kind of decent way, and stop throwing his trash in the vacant property next to his, okay? I did notice that someone came out and looked at the trash in the front of the vacant, but I never heard anything else, and everything is still there. So, do I make another 311 call?
No. Actually, someone will get your information after we get off of the air, and we will follow up on that, because you should have had some information in regards to that. But I'm gonna say that they found evidence, that's why they didn't have to go in the back, but needed to inform you. Yes, so we will, that is your code enforcement.
Yes, this is our code enforcement officer for the 5th District. Please stand. So when you see that gentleman around on your block or anything, he's busy at work looking at something. And, yes, ma'am.
Okay, I've had 311 issues since December about our street lights over in Washington Manor. Are we getting any further along with that? I've had 5 311 issues, that's the only one that hasn't been resolved.
Is the light out, ma'am? Is it all?
There's a few lights that are out, and the globes are missing.
Are you talking street lights?
Yes.
Okay, I'll get those locations when we're done, okay?
Commander, did you want to say anything?
Oh, no, you all are doing fine.
Council, did you want to say something?
No, I'm good. Just came by to support the 5th District where I live.
Okay, Nate, we didn't forget you. The golf course now, what's the, anticipation in the future is going to be, I see they got rid of most of the water over there, but now it turns out to be a swamp over there. It's totally muddy.
Turning across.
Yes.
Yeah. So we anticipate the full installation, the replacement of the pump. Just so if anybody doesn't know, last October the pump house was hit by a drunk driver. Kind of catapulted or went over the fence itself and went straight through the pump house itself. And the gentleman got up and walked away, luckily. So for a while we had to wait. We had to go through the process of getting the insurance to cover it. Got that taken care of. Had to rebuild the whole pump house. All of the pumps and the mechanisms that were inside were completely destroyed. So we had to go back and repurchase all that stuff. The pump house has actually been reconstructed and is together. Tomorrow, actually, they're supposed to get a crane and reinstall the pump. So the irrigation system can now get back online. The delays that we have had is because it's been an extremely rainy season. And so when we make any kind of progress, next thing you know, we'll get hit with a typhoon. And it'll cause us to kind of just remain stagnant. Now that we've had a few days where it hasn't rained as bad and we had some warmer weather, you're right, it's just about drowned out. But us getting our irrigation system back online will allow us to control the flow of water that stagnates on the course now. So that's supposed to happen tomorrow. I think by Thursday they should have everything up and running, assuming there are no other issues.
Good luck.
Thank you.
What is the park department going to do as far as recreation for our children?
So we have, so here specifically, I can tell you, we're going to have the swimming pool. We did have it up and running last summer. It will be up and running this summer as well. We offer learn to swim classes. We partnered with the Red Cross Centennial Program. Last year we taught, I think it was 203 individuals learn to swim classes here and at Tolliston Park. Here is for mostly infants, smaller children. The older kids can go to Tolliston Park and do it there. That is completely free. It is no charge to the community to do it. And so we have a target date, I think we were saying June the 17th, to get that up and going, assuming the weather cooperates as well. In addition, we'll have summer feeding sites around the city. So let's see, what do we have in the 5th?
Still looking for site locations?
Yeah, I know that. So I was more or less just talking about the ones that we're doing.
Oh.
We're still getting some outside, some churches, some daycares who are signing up and participating. I don't think we have one in the 5th to do summer feeding this year. But we'll have a list circulating and going around. But we will have summer feeding, and then we'll also have kind of next door at Reed Park. It'll be more of a nature. We have a grant that we got through the National League of Cities called Cities Connecting Children to Nature. And one of the things that we're doing is creating initiatives to get kids outside more. And so one of the things at Reed Park, which is at 14th Connecticut, I know it's not the 5th district, but one of the things that we'll be doing is teaching kids about nature, native plants, getting them outside, butterfly gardens, all those things.
Just give me a couple of questions. I have a question as far as your cooling centers. I know it's not hot right now, but what are some of your locations in the city where you're gonna have cooling centers? And I am concerned that you don't have a feeding place for the 5th district. And I hope that you can address that. I know we're right here at this pavilion. I know GNS is around the corner. And I'm concerned that the children in this community won't get the services that they deserve. And if you look across the street, that is certainly a concern. So I think I'd like for you all, as a council person, to seriously address that.
So in this particular building, we already have the Meals on Wheels program.
Mm-hmm.
So it would be a bit of it would be too congested for us to kind of do both. in the same building. And really, this is, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is the only pavilion that we have in the Fifth. We don't have any buildings in the Fifth District, pavilion-wise, that we could host. That's why we're hoping that we'll have some community groups or some churches that will sign up. Some of them who do Vacation Bible School, they'll sign up for the free lunch and then we'll offer it there. So that's why we still got time, but we're hoping some community groups will get on board, so we'll have equal representation across all of the districts. What was your
The
first
cooling
question?
center was another issue.
Cooling center, we haven't talked about, we haven't narrowed down those areas yet, right, LaShawn? We're still,
Right. We
we're
have
still
to fix
working on
the
it.
air here, so this
Yeah.
could be a cooling center.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah,
do it
we're
yet.
working on that.
Yeah.
Because we do have funds
So-
for air to be repaired, because I was in the council meeting.
So Councilwoman, you saying, or I'll just say to the director, you're saying that you have Meals on Wheels here, but however you won't have air conditioning for the people to come in for the Meals on Wheels?
So last year, we had a real issue with that. That's why if you see in some of the corners, you'll see some of the,
Portables.
yeah, the portable ones that we had. However, we're trying to find a more permanent solution, this year. It was, the numbers we got last year were staggering as far as replacing, the air conditioning. However, we know that we can't continue to rely on the portables, to cool down the facility. So, Councilwoman Caldwell has constantly been reminding me of the need to do it, as well as the people who are here on a regular basis. So it's on our list.
Thank you. The reason why I said is we would like to be able to make those announcements at the council meeting so the public will know ahead of time instead of the last minute, because school will be getting out soon, am I right? Yeah, and I believe we have.
May 31st.
The weekend for some, yeah.
Gary Community, May 31st.
So it's a sense of urgency to make sure we get that done. Thank you very much.
8 days. Okay.
You got one more question?
One more question.
Okay, we're looking for Larry Webb. Where is he at?
I have no idea.
Now, last year, he didn't touch the property at all, you know? And they keep saying that he's gonna do something with it, but Beckman is the same. It's been 3 or 4 years. He haven't touched it. The Gary Public Schools said it's out of their hands. They don't want nothing to do with it.
Well, the
Larry
last
Webb.
person I spoke with, Mr. Webb, was turning the property over to them. So I will reach out to those people in Indianapolis and see if he actually did that. But, I wasn't the council person then, when that deal that you all fought with
Yeah.
Mr.
You
Webb
all.
and the
No, I was
building.
against it
Because
totally.
buses would be parked there had I been the council
Yeah.
person, I'm just sorry.
No
And we
way.
wouldn't be talking about it now. Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I wanted to ask, is there any plan to do something about the swimming pool that's right outside this building? You plan to do anything about that for the children in this area?
Yes, it's gonna be up and running.
This summer?
Yes, ma'am. It was up and running last summer too.
Yeah.
Well, the tennis court too. The tennis court? You know what I'm saying?
When you get it up and running, I will volunteer to help the kids. That way I know.
Why is the tennis court, I don't know.
Tennis
I
court.
mean, it's a real eyesore.
like to use it.
It's a
I'm
shame
saying
to have
this-
this meeting
To have
here.
it performing as a tennis court, we have an abundance of tennis courts around the city, and you'd be hard pressed to find, I know maybe a dozen people who play outdoor tennis courts, but there's tennis courts everywhere. I'm saying as far as them being used as tennis courts, I don't think that's probably feasible. They need to be repurposed
Right.
and used as something else.
I agree.
But as far as using them for tennis, I'd struggle to find 12 people who play tennis on a regular basis.
Something needs to be done to it.
How long is, this bridge on Harrison Street gonna stay closed? It's been closed almost a year now.
That was pushed
out, and I believe September is the most recent, it was June.
Well, the state is
almost a
doing
year.
that. It's not the city, it's the state.
But
So
we don't
the
have
state
any
works.
idea what's going on?
We've had different dates, so
Yeah, I think September is the most recent one
that's the
that I
reason.
heard.
Okay.
Any other questions? No? I thank you all for coming out, and I look forward to seeing you May
May 30th.
30th.
Yes, we'll see.
May 30th.